Hi everybody, very warm welcome to the channel Shipra Mishra. This is Shipra Mishra and I hope you guys are doing fine. I know आप इस तरीके की वीडियोस बहुत कम देखते हो. आज मैं आपके लिए एक पॉडकास्ट लेके आई हूँ. दिस इज़ द राइट टाइम क्योंकि मुझे पता है कि आप में से बहुत सारे बच्चे जो है एग्जाम से फ्री हो गए हैं. मैंने सोचा कि क्यों ना आपके साथ में एक रियल एक्सपीरियंस शेयर किया जाए. देखो यार, आपने बहुत सारे स्ट्रैटेजी वीडियोस देखे हैं. आपने बहुत सारे लोगों के मुंह से सुना है भाई ऐसे एग्जाम देने हैं, वैसे एग्जाम देने हैं, ऐसे एग्जाम आता है, ये अप्रोच होनी चाहिए. मैं आज आपके साथ में एक ऐसे गेस्ट का एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करने वाली हूँ. जी हाँ, आज हम अपने चैनल पे गेस्ट को लेकर आने वाले हैं जो कि एक बहुत ही रिनाउंड ऑथर है. उनका नाम है मिस्टर विजय कल्याण झा. और कमाल की बात ये है कि वो CUET जब से शुरू हुआ है, नॉट जस्ट CUET, वो बहुत सारे एग्जाम जिनके अंदर कोई एज लिमिट नहीं होती है वो लिखते रहते हैं. और जब से CUET शुरू हुआ है, CUET का पहला जो पार्ट हुआ था, पहला अटेम्प्ट हुआ था, CUET का दूसरा बार जब उसे कंडक्ट कराया गया, और अभी भी इनफैक्ट वो CUET PG जो है लिख चुके हैं. तो उन्होंने अपने एक्सपीरियंस को मेरे साथ शेयर किया है कि कैसे CUET के वेरियस एग्जाम्स जब वो दे रहे होते हैं तो वो क्या फील करते हैं, क्या आपकी अप्रोच होनी चाहिए एज अ स्टूडेंट, क्योंकि आप तो एक एस्पिरेंट हो और आपको आपका कॉलेज भी चाहिए. ठीक है, तो क्या आपकी अप्रोच होनी चाहिए एंड क्या उनकी अप्रोच रही है, क्या वो अपने आप को कहते अगर वो बचपन में या बहुत पहले अपने अपने टाइम पर ये एग्ज़ाम लिख रहे होते हैं. तो इस तरीके के फ़न क्वेश्चंस, एक डिस्कशन कि कैसा CUET है, क्या क्या चीज़ें हम एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं, क्या आपकी अप्रोच होनी चाहिए, कौन सी बुक्स आपको रेफ़र करनी चाहिए, कौन से स्टडी मटेरियल आपको देखना चाहिए, ये सब कुछ मैंने यहाँ पर डिस्कस किया है. तो इस वीडियो को एंड तक ज़रूर देखना. और मैंने सारे जो क्वेश्चंस उनसे पूछे हैं वो नीचे आपके लिए टैग कर दिए हैं. तो यू कैन ऑल्सो गो टू द स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन एंड सी what he has to say to you. And yeah, I hope you like this one. Can you tell us more about yourself? As in, why is this a craze that you are writing these examination, and how do you feel while you write these examination? And can you tell more about who Vijay is? I mean, how do we connect ourselves with you?
All right. In one line, Vijay is a learner. So started working at the early age and in fact worked with almost for 15 years with one of the largest brands in education, and then shifted to edtech. Right. Probably 5, 6 years back was a part of this for 4 years, worked with a big brand there as well. But one thing always remained a constant. Whether I was working in academics or outside the academics, I always made it a point to appear for the examinations myself. Luckily, there are a good number of examinations where there is no upper age limit. I mean, needless to say, you can look at me, that if there is an examination with upper age limit, I would not be allowed, right? But luckily, there are many examinations in which there's absolutely no upper age limit. Incidentally, CUET UG is one of them. And as far the experience is concerned, even if I'm working in marketing, let's say I have to market some product, that product would be related to some examination in test prep industry. If I have experienced the examination myself, in most of the cases, I would know it inside out. All right. So that certainly gives me an extra vision to be more effective in my role, no matter which role I am in here in education industry.
Great.
And experiences have been very varied, right? I mean, many of you might have watched that movie Munna by MBBS, right? When Munna enters the classroom for the first time, every student stands up and says, "Good morning, sir." It has happened with me several times because on certain occasions, not only the students, even the invigilators are younger to me.
Oh God.
Okay, so once I went to appear for an examination, students started complaining, "Sir, it's 10:30. Examination was supposed to start at 10:15. What are you people doing?" Okay, so I told them that, "Oh, I'm just one of you." Didn't believe it.
So, now that you have told me how you feel when you enter the examination hall, how do you feel before it? I mean, because when we write an exam, we have a strategy, we have an approach in mind. This is how I'm going to approach the exam. This is going to be my strategy. A normal, student tendency. Now, because you were not writing these examination to clear and get yourself a college, did you even follow a strategy, or you just went and wrote the exam?
I just write and appear for examinations, close to 30, 40 examinations every year. So I
Wow, so
keep
there is
appearing
no
for
strategy.
no strategy. And in fact, I create strategy for students after appearing for an examination. I live the examination, I feel absolutely excited. I, at this age, also feel good about being able to solve a question, right? I
Hmm.
feel bad if I'm not able to solve it.
Hmm.
All right. So feel absolutely excited, but do not appear for any examination with any strategy as such. Okay. After the examination, I create strategy and share that with students. At
Okay.
times directly, at times indirectly.
Okay. So, because you're connected with CUET from long ago and you have been appearing for examination, how do you think CUET 2024 is different from CUET examinations that have happened before?
All right. It's a very good question. Thank you. And all you aspirants keep one thing in mind. Forget whatever hype is there in media. If I compare CUET UG 2024 with 2023, there are two things that have come out. One, that in 2023 you could appear for a maximum of 10 papers, and this time you can appear for a maximum of 6 papers.
Hmm.
But this is nothing for you. How many of you would actually appear for more than 6 papers? Hardly any. Right. People like us appear for 10 papers, right? Because we want to know about more and more subjects. But when it comes to you, you read 5 or 6 papers. So it's actually a non-event for you. All right. Number two, that it has been there, and in fact, they've clearly put it in the notification also,
Hmm.
that some papers with large volume, I do not know what do they mean by large volume. As per media, that large volume is 1.5 lakhs, right?
Okay.
Some papers might get conducted in hybrid mode, that is offline as well as online.
Hmm.
All right, that also should not make much of a difference to you. You should be equally comfortable because ultimately, when you appear for your class 12 examination, also the mode is offline.
Hmm.
Right. So you're quite habituated of that. And even if it is online, shouldn't make much of a difference to you. So hardly any big difference. Yeah, one thing probably which not many people, at least media hasn't talked much about, and that is that this time you would have less number of slots, and that is good for you. Probably the entire examination should be over in 15 to 20 days. Hopefully. Hopefully.
Okay. So now that you have mentioned that there is this chaos, there is this, hype that media creates in students' mind, which actually most of them, because of which, are scared to write exams. Most of the students feel that this exam might not be for them. They might not be able to crack this exam. This might be very difficult, or it might be very easy. Whatever the scenario is, whatever the mindset that students approach the exam with, they definitely require a strategy to move about it if they're writing CUET 2024. And because you have written the exam yourself, and you're going to appear for PG also this year, what do you think should be the strategy for 2024 aspirants?
All right. One by one. I will divide this question in 3 parts. You have a language test to appear for. For most of you, that would be English. Yes, so you have to appear for a test in English. Many of you might be appearing for the general test, and then you have domain specific subject tests.
Huh.
So I would want to speak about your domain subjects, first of all. For 99.99% of you, I do not know why am I saying 99.99, why not 99.98 or 97, right? But you get the point.
It sounds
You
fine.
are going to appear in those domain subjects that you have studied in class 12 also. All right. And I see again, media says that you need this preparation, that preparation. You do not need any preparation. Whatever you have done in class 12, that is all that they're going to ask you. And in fact, let's look at a subject like mathematics. Whatever is there in NCERT books of class 12 on mathematics, you would not be asked anything outside that. All right. And even if you get just a question or two outside the NCRT books, shouldn't bother you because ultimately, even in a test like maths, you have to do 40 out of 50 questions,
Hmm.
right? So you have that leeway. Okay. Let's say something like political science. Okay. In political science, also, you're hardly going to get any question outside those two NCRT books that you need to do in class 12.
Hmm.
In case of science subjects, ensure this that you do all the NCRT books of class 12, right? Plus, NCRT comes with another book, exemplar for science subjects, maths, physics, and chemistry. Please do that as well if you're appearing for the test in these subjects. And then there are certain subjects like legal studies. NCERT does not publish any book on legal studies, but CBSE does. All right. So go to CBSE's website. There's a link for downloading books, absolutely free of cost. Download the book, Legal Studies. And this is just one book. All right. And study it thoroughly. And most of you, again, you have been studying these subjects for the last 12 months, so absolutely nothing new for you. But please ensure one thing in case of any paper that you practice with as many previous year papers as possible. And do not think that there are only two papers available. All right, since CUET UG takes place in multiple slots, so almost every paper got conducted in more than 15 slots in 2022 as well as in 2023. Okay, so good number of papers are available, should be available. All right, so please ensure this that you do all previous or as many previous year papers as you can after finishing your NCERT books or CBSE book as the case may be. That is part one for your domain specific subjects, which will take care of 3 or 4 out of your 5 or 6 papers.
Yes.
Okay. When it comes to English, it's a very basic test. First of all, English is the most popular test because more than 7 lakh people actually appeared for the test last year. It was number one. Number two was general test, I believe, close to 6 lakh 70,000, right? But how many exams are you aware of in which there are as many as 5,000 toppers? In English, there were as many as 5,100, more than 5,100 percentiles out of 7 lakh odd people who took the test. So that tells you that's certainly not a difficult test. They ask you some basic questions on vocabulary, very basic questions on English grammar, and mostly options are framed so very poorly that even if you're not very good at grammar, you should be able to do most of them. And here also, you have that leeway that you need to do 40 out of 50 questions.
Yeah.
All right. So be very careful in selecting those 10 questions that you do not have to attempt.
Yes.
Okay. On the name of reading comprehension, they give you reading comprehension that they used to give in class 8. Okay. There would be a passage, or in certain cases, the passage would be difficult, but the questions would be very simple. Most of the questions are factual. All right. So just do not worry. It's an easy test. Forget the hype. All right. You are left with slightly more than 2 months. Okay. So utilize your time well. Take a break of 3 to 4 days once your class 12 examinations get over. All right. Settle down within 3 to 4 days. Prepare very well for it and get into one of the top colleges. All right. It is not difficult. It's simple.
And I wanted to ask how important is solving previous year questions, because previous year questions also contain that hype, not just in CUET, for every exam. Everyone emphasizes on doing previous year questions here because the exam was conducted in computer based mode. Not many of us have access to previous year questions. We only see the mock papers uploaded by NTA, or a previous year paper uploaded by NTA, or some of the books have some questions here and there. So the limited size of questions that is available, how do we utilize it to the maximum interest, and how do we get maximum out of it?
All right. At least in 2 subjects in our book on general test, which is published by McGraw-Hill, of course, we have put as many as 20 previous year papers. Even in our book on English, we have put as many as 20 previous year papers. That is 1,000 questions. In case of the general test, is more than 1,300 questions, 1,320 to be very precise. I do not think that you require any practice. You need to practice more than those. All right.
Wow.
But outside these 2 subjects, I would believe that yes, some sample papers are available on the website of CUET UG, right? So please go and download them. A few of those papers are not in a very good shape, right? But still, you should be able to
Get an idea.
make out what exactly is there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sir, a lot of times people think that GT is not important because in maximum universities it is language plus 3 domains or language plus GT. So, what do you think? Because NTA has emphasized, this year on English plus GT. What do you think? Should students should do? Should they be appearing for English plus GT this time to maximize their choice in terms of universities and courses? And how do they prepare for GT?
All right. So it's a very good question. Again, you of course do not require the general test for most of the courses, but then there is a fact, as I told you a while back, that general test was the second most popular test on CUET UG 2023.
Hmm.
Close to 7 lakh people appeared for the general test last year.
Okay.
And that is how it was the last year as well. English was number one and general test was number two. And the reason is that for most of the professional programs offered by most of the central universities, you need to appear for the general test. In case of certain universities, no matter which course you go for, appearing for the general test is compulsory, is mandatory. Like University of Allahabad is one of the most popular universities, one of the most popular central universities in North India, right? And no matter which course you go for, if you want admission in University of Allahabad, you need to appear for this general test. Let's come to University of Delhi. One of the most sought after programs in University of Delhi is Bachelor of Management Studies.
Hmm.
And College of Business Studies is probably number two in the country when it comes to doing BBA or its equivalent. They call it BMS, Bachelor of Management Studies,
Yes.
right? I would say IIM Indore is number one, and College of Business Studies is number two.
Yes.
All right, and IIM Rohtak would be a distant number three. Okay. Now for this BMS from University of Delhi, general test is mandatory.
Okay.
All right. Similarly, if you look for BA LLB, 5-year law from Banaras Hindu University,
Yes.
again, you need to appear for the general test.
Yes.
Without general test, you're nowhere. It's mandatory. There are many professional programs, some journalism. Many of you want to become a journalist now, right? In a way, and in fact, Shipra is also a journalist, right? So if you want to do a formal course on journalism, if you get inspired by Shipra, right? So you would not get admission in any course on journalism if you haven't taken the general test. Then Jawaharlal Nehru University, it offers undergraduate programs in languages. There are 10 languages in which it offers undergraduate programs. There also you need to appear for just two tests, the general test and the English language test. But do appear for general test, English, and maybe 3 or 4 domain specific subjects.
Okay.
I
So
think you should appear for.
if you go through the syllabus that is given on NTA's website, English is completely different from what it was taught in class 12. So if you don't, if you have bunked classes till class 10, English can be very difficult for you because the topics are very different. And if you come from a very different background where English was not taught as such, so that is one thing. And general test, when it comes to general test, there are four things that students need to prepare, be it GK, static GK, the current affairs, logical reasoning, quants. All these things combined can be actually very tedious to prepare just in 2 months. So is it even possible to prepare English and GT combined with all brand new syllabus in just 2 months?
All right. So one by one, let's come to English first. As I told you a while back, they ask you 50 questions. This year also, they have already declared that they will ask you 50 questions, right? Of which you will need to do 45, or sorry, 40, right? So out of those 40 questions, 15 questions, at least till last year, were on reading comprehension. They might change it a bit this time, right? Yeah. This reading comprehension is fairly simple. Okay. Then they ask you some words, they ask you some foreign words as well. Like you go to a restaurant and you can go for a la carte menu, right? Or you can go for buffet. They will ask you the meaning of a la carte. Okay. They will ask you the meaning of status quo. All right. All those standard terms. So, of course, if you're not very good at English at this stage, you can still work hard on it in the next 2 months and can become better. So focus a bit on vocab building, and not that they go very deep into vocabulary also. Okay, it's not GRE, it's CUET UG. Okay, so some surface level knowledge of vocabulary,
Hmm.
some surface level knowledge of grammar.
Hmm.
You need regularity. You need to do past year papers. And in certain cases, even if you just do some 15, 20 past year papers,
Hmm.
and whatever amount of words that you would come across, there's a fair chance that a few of them will get repeated in the examination also. And
Oh.
again, I'm not making this statement to make you buy the book, though I would not mind that if you do that. Right. But this is a fact. So, yes, a bit of vocab building, a bit of grammar, and otherwise also, why shouldn't you do these two things?
Hmm.
Even if you do not want to do graduation, right? You want to become a sports star. You
Hmm.
need to be good at English, right? Because whether we like it or not, that has become the language,
Yeah.
right? So be good at it. Work on basics of vocab and grammar. That is all that you need, and this is fairly possible in the next 2 months, even along the preparation of the other subjects. In general test, as Shipra rightly said, that there are four parts. You have reasoning, you have quantitative aptitude, they put it in, then you have a bit of general knowledge as well. And in fact, if you look at last year's paper or paper should I say, because the examination was conducted in different slots, one third of it was on quantitative aptitude,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
One third of it was reasoning, and one third of it, more or less, some 15 to 18 questions on reasoning,
Okay.
mostly 20 to 24 questions on quantitative aptitude, right?
Hmm.
And rest of the questions, some 20, 22 questions on general awareness. Not much of current affairs, last year or last to last affairs, last to last year. Please keep that in mind, right?
Hmm.
So, current affairs, hardly any. So please, in my suggestion is that do not invest much of time on current affairs. Okay.
Okay.
Ninth or 10th level mathematics, they ask you a question or two on probability and proportion combination also, right? But if you're already not good at these two things, do not think too much about it. You can always skip those two questions because you have this right to skip some 10 questions. I'm not aware of any other examination which gives you, right, such a big thing, such a big choice
Yeah.
where you can leave 10 questions, right?
Yes.
So prepare for basics of quantitative aptitude, and yes, preparing for GK in this short period can be slightly difficult because in GK they can ask you questions from economics, they can ask you from history, they ask you questions from geography. So managing all this can be slightly difficult. I agree to that. But basics of maths can definitely be managed, and the easiest of them would be the reasoning part.
Hmm.
In my opinion, whatever 400 questions are there on reasoning in this book, even if you practice those 400 questions, that should be sufficient. So the easiest is definitely the reasoning part. The second easiest for you would be quantitative aptitude. That is for those people who are already not good with mathematics, right? And preparing for static general knowledge in 2 months can be slightly difficult, but they mostly ask you class 10 level history, geography, economics, and political science. Well, you call civics, you call political science civics at school level, right?
Yes.
So completely depends on you that how much of knowledge appetite you have, how much can you learn in the next 2 months. So take that as a challenge.
Selecting your subject teachers is very important. But I think one thing that also plays a very big and important role here is selecting the resources with which are you going to study for your exams. So, what is your take on this? And what would you suggest? What are the best resources that students can definitely opt for to study for CUET 2024?
All right. I think we have already covered a bit of this when I talked about the domain specific subject.
Yes.
So, this is very clear. Your resources should be past year papers, no matter which paper you're taking. All
Hmm.
right.
Hmm.
Then, when it comes to domain subjects, NCRT or CBSE books, 90% of your subjects are there in available on NCRT, right?
Hmm.
And even if you're in some remote part of India, you're not getting those books, you can download those books absolutely free of cost from NCRT's website, right?
Okay.
So, NCRT or CBSE books plus previous year papers.
Hmm.
When it comes to English, any basic book on vocabulary,
Hmm.
right? Any basic book on English grammar, basic book. And there also, there are certain topics which they repeat in almost all the papers. Like they ask you questions on narration, they ask you questions on voice, They
Yes.
ask you questions on adjective clause. They ask you questions on types of adverbs. All
Okay.
right. So let me market my book also a bit, Shipra. Okay. So especially if you do McGraw Hill's book on English, that will make you very, very familiar with the type of topics that are needed. All right. So these should be the resources in general test. Again, previous year papers, nothing outside the previous year papers when it comes to reasoning. Most of you are good enough to manage the reasoning part, right? And maybe a basic book on quantitative aptitude, maybe NCERT books of classes 9 and 10.
I personally like the book that you've created for GT because not many books are available which learners can trust, especially when it comes to GT.
Thing number one, that only CUET UG questions.
Hmm.
Thing number two, that the way we have solved them. Thing number three, that whatever inaccuracies were there even in the original questions, right?
Hmm.
They have been taken care of. We have
Wow.
filtered them all.
Wow.
So if you just start doing the questions, you would not get stuck anywhere because of any problem in the question itself.
Okay.
All right. But do not expect that in the actual examination. In the actual examination, yeah, this also is something very important. You should not get stuck with any question because there is a possibility that there is some problem with the question itself. On an average, I would say one or two question
Hmm.
had some problem in almost every slot last year, be it English or general test or any, no, not in other subjects, right? But definitely in English and
And
the
general.
general test.
Okay.
Many questions were dropped also.
Okay. So there are many universities that are registered with CUET 2024 and will be registering with CUET 2024. What are some universities that you'll advise students to definitely apply for? Some universities that should be there on their list.
All right. So it depends on your aptitude also, that which type of course you're interested in, right? But more or less is a no-brainer that for most of you, number one choice would be University of Delhi.
Hmm.
Right. And then University of Delhi is also not a monolith. There are many colleges in University of Delhi. Like
Yeah.
if someone wants to do BCom honors from University of Delhi, what do we mean by BCom honors from University of Delhi? There's a huge difference between SRCC and some other colleges,
Yes.
right? So in commerce, of course, like for management aspirants, for MBA aspirants, you have IIM Ahmedabad right at the top.
Yes.
Similarly, for if you want to do BCom honors, it is SRCC.
Hmm.
It's not even debatable, right? The next would be probably at some fair distance from SRCC,
Yeah.
right? But keep one thing in mind, that when it comes to a college like SRCC, last year for general category, the cutoff was around 781 out of 800.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And this is official information that I've obtained through an RTI report. Please keep that in mind, right? For general categories was 781 out of 800, which practically means that of the four papers that you're supposed to appear for, if you make four mistakes in those four papers, all those four papers put together, not in one of them, you're
Yes.
out of the race.
Yes.
All right. So that way it becomes very important to score 200 on 200 in at least two of them.
Yes.
Okay, so keep that also in mind. Similarly, when it comes to a program like 5-year LLB, okay, so look, CLAT is over, of course, ELIT is over, most of the standard law entrance examinations are over. So through CUET, your number one choice would be 5-year LLB from
Yes.
Banaras Hindu University.
Yes.
All right, so BHU is also one of the top choices, so is Allahabad University.
Hmm.
Now, any university that is in Delhi, actually, students tend to flock towards it, throng towards it, right?
Yes.
So, B.R. Ambedkar University, Delhi, I'm not talking about that central B.R. Ambedkar University in Lucknow. B.R.
Yes.
Ambedkar University in Delhi is doing quite well, is coming up real well.
Hmm.
All right. So, these are some of the top universities. Of course, those people who are interested in a course, undergraduate course in analytics, they can consider TISS also. So we're talking about some prestigious universities in which you can get through the CUET UG.
Hmm.
One of them is, of course, JNU. Of course, it does not offer you all those typical programs.
Hmm.
It offers you undergraduation in some
Hmm.
language courses. Like you can go for French honors, you can go for honors in German, you can go for honors in Pashto, actually Arabic, right? So there are 10 languages in which JNU offers undergraduate programs. So
Okay.
yes, JNU is also one of the top choices if
Okay.
you have such interests.
Okay. So now that we have spoken about the universities that learners you can definitely apply to, sir, you have written these examinations because you wanted to, experience them and also create strategies for students. But what if you were writing these examination as a student back then? So, what would be that one advice that you would give to your younger self if you would be appearing in CUET exam as a student?
Okay, don't be arrogant. Prepare very well for each and every subject.
Hmm.
Okay. So CUET UG is definitely not a difficult test, but getting 100% in any examination becomes difficult because in order to fail, you just need to get one wrong.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And if you make two or three such blunders in
Hmm.
four papers, top colleges are out of reach for you
Hmm.
because these are easy examinations. And in fact, let's talk about another college, Stevens.
Hmm.
All right. So in Stevens College, in English honors or even history honors or economics honors,
Hmm.
if you commit four or five errors,
Hmm.
four or five mistakes, all
Hmm.
those four papers put together, you're out of the race because in English, I believe the cutoff was for English honors, which is a very sought after program from Stevens, right? The
Yeah.
cutoff was above 790. So actually, two errors and you're gone.
Oh God. Okay. या सो दैट्स सम
Okay.
ग्रेट एडवाइस ऑल द बेस्ट आपकी बुक के लिए बच्चों लिंक जो है वो नीचे आपको डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में मिल जाएगा वहां जाकर आप चेक कर सकते हो सर अगर आप कुछ कहना चाहते हैं तो
First of all, thank you for having me here, Shipra. And all the best to all the students. All right, so listen to the suggestion that I gave to my younger self. All right, study very well, make every day count, and try to get 100%
hmm.
in each and every paper of CUET UG that you're appearing for. Aim for the best colleges, the best universities. Thank you.